Okay, so my name is Louise Harrington. As Bernie said, I have an allotment at Churchfield Allotment Gardens, and for anybody who's interested, they're actually quite near to here. And if you want, at 1 o'clock we'll be opening the gates, and you're welcome to come in for a walk around and a tour. I have two fellow allotmenteers there, John and Finn. So if you want to come, just let us know, and we'll walk over across the hill. It's 5-10 minutes. It's not far. I suppose to start off, what was my interest in growing? Why did I get an allotment? I had been interested for a while in, trying to learn about growing my own food. I suppose maybe for a lot of the reasons that Mike talked about, the idea that our food is being shipped all around the world, and, it just seems crazy really that we're importing things that you can grow very easily. And I know I saw on the GIY website recently, the guy on that talks a lot about the Chinese garlic, and I remember that did hit me kind of why it's a bit mad when we can't grow it. But the problem for me was I never had any space. I live in Cork City. When we got our house, we kind of went from a compromise to want to walk in and out and use the city and not be commuters. But the compromise was that we didn't have much of a garden, and that really limited what I could grow. And the year I was pregnant with my son, I did most of the allotment growing FETAC course in Kinsale College. I say most because I missed a few weeks with giving birth and having a small baby in tow. And I had started at home in containers, which was a great starter for me. I was building containers or getting friends of mine to build containers out of whatever I could get my hands on. But and I had some success with that, and for me it was a really good way to start. So I talked a bit about what my motivation was. Churchfield Allotments, they're Cork City Council owned. They're the first in the city, and I know I was really thrilled that the first allotments run by the council in Cork City went bang in the middle of the north side. It was a greenfield site that anyone living in the area will tell you was kind of used for nothing, maybe the odd bonfire or people having a drink at the odd time, as people who got the plots against the far end of the wall will tell you, because they dug out those cans and broken glass. It's a year old this May, so what's really good if you get to go over to see what we've done in a year, I'm really inspired and proud to be part of it. When we got it, there was some unusual stuff that happened. I mean, there's brilliant facilities. There's a really good fence, which I think helped. The site's secure and you can see in and out through it. We've got water, which made a big difference in the summer. Although the taps when we got them had the push taps, which meant you couldn't run a hose, so there was a lot of watering cans carried back and forth until we actually started changing them ourselves to the ones with the twist. We've got a shed for storing tools, which makes a big difference rather than lugging them up and down, and a little canteen with toilets, and the toilets made a huge difference, because otherwise a kind of limiting factor of how much time you could spend up there was how long your bladder could hold out. The other thing was the soil. When we got the site, I think there had been a drainage problem, there was sort of a boggy bit in the middle of the plot, in the middle of the field. So the council had to put drainage in, so they stripped all the original topsoil off, took it away and probably dumped it somewhere, and then brought new topsoil in, which was pretty dead. I think any of us who were growing there were kind of struck by the fact there was no worms or kind of nothing that looked alive in the soil. So I suppose a big job for all of us was bringing that soil back to life. So there have been, I'd say bags and bags and bags of seaweed, horse manure. We discovered a stone's throw from the allotment with 2 horses who was paying people to get rid of the manure. So it proved to be a nice kind of thing. So I suppose, we've all done a lot of work in bringing our soil back to life, and I suppose for some people there, I think it is a thing with old allotments, or new allotments, you can get, the soil looks good, but, is it really good to grow things in? There's 48 plots. They're 35 foot by 30 foot, but some are a bit bigger, some are a bit smaller. All the plots are allocated, and there's actually a waiting list. I suppose in the first year there was a learning thing in that maybe some people came along and planted spuds and either discovered they were living a bit too far away, or you know, it was a lot of work, or maybe people had family things, so some of the plots have been reallocated. And I think that's another thing to say, like, I live in a walking distance of the allotment. John and Finn down there are the same, like most of us are local. There are some people going from further afield, but you know, the old saying that the plants that fall under the gardener's shadow get the most attention. Like, it's, you know, it's brilliant just to go up, I don't know, after you've been doing other things in your day and having, you know, a bit of time up there. Like, it's been great. Remind myself what else I was going to say. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is that we, as well as it being run by the council, we have our own allotment growers committee, which I think was a really positive thing, because it gives us our own identity as growers. Because sometimes maybe there's, like, the council might have a certain view on things, and generally they are quite supportive, but you know, it gives us our own idea and our own kind of platform for putting ideas, and also to apply for funding, you know, to support things we might want to do. And we've done things communally, like ourselves, in a bit of a, you know, help yourselves sort of basis, or self-help, that, you know, organising manure collection, group dyeing planks, old scaffolding planks for people who wanted to make raised beds. You know, we got to do that collectively, and swapping seeds, you know, and that's happening informally anyway, but we've got a little seed swap box in the canteen, and you know, and then we've also benefited from the council that we've been getting some the rotted, you know, all the stuff that goes up to landfill, the rotted planks and rotted grass clippings, and you know, again, it's just rotted organic matter that's helping to bring the soil back into condition. The other thing to mention, sorry, I'm just reading from my notes, I hope this isn't a bit kind of disjointed. It's a windy site, it's south facing, so that's brilliant for light, but it's kind of quite windy. So people have put up a lot of netting, you know, to reduce the wind, so we're looking at that as well. And I suppose I haven't said, you know, last year, my first year, I got the allotment in May, and I'd already booked a trip away to visit a family member for 2 weeks in May, so I was late getting started, and kind of a relative newcomer. And last year I got spuds, onions, peas, pumpkins, beans, broccoli, lettuce, there's a lot more, you know, and it was really great for me. And like, my son is now 4, and that was one of my sort of other motivations. I really wanted my son to be, you know, grown up in the middle of the north side of Cork City, to know where his food was coming from. And like, a really strong childhood memory for me was raiding all the peas out of my dad's garden, and strawberries, and you know, my parents kind of half going, but probably being delighted that we were eating those vegetables, you know, that they never got any peas to the table, because me and my sister ate them all. And my son seems to be, yeah, interested in it. And yes, that's kind of bringing me on to the next thing. There's loads of growing. It's a very friendly place up in the allotment. I figured out fairly early on, for every, I don't know, every amount of time you were up there, you had to set aside about a third of your time for chatting. And that's a really important part of the allotment to me. Like, I'm not originally from Gronabrocher, like, I've been in the area 6 years now, like, but I've met more people in the allotments than I've done on my own street. It's brilliant, and everybody up there is kind of as friendly and, you know, or as enthusiastic about the whole idea, and it's kind of great to meet people as sort of obsessed as yourself, and that'll sit down and, you know, talk about the ins and outs of seeds and what's growing. And the last time I was up there, I realised a current kind of greeting as well. What are you growing? What are you planting? You know, so it'll give you that type of idea. And I remember early on, actually, it was John. I'd grown these little pumpkins in pots at home, and John came up to me and said, the girl over another plot, or the man over another plot, just had their pumpkins shriveled by the wind. Let's make a little windbreak. And I was going, what'll I do without it? He said, come on, we'll make them out of a rock. And that's a really good example of how everybody is supporting each other up there. I also discovered there was a bit of an informal competition figuring out who was growing the biggest pumpkin without me even knowing it. I think I came second to people the other end got there. But and yeah, the last thing, let me finish, just to say it's a brilliant kind of stress buster as well. It's one of the best things I found, and I saw, you know, it's the place, the people, the whole feeling of being up there getting your hands dirty, and I suppose I can't recommend it enough. I think it's the best thing happened in the area, and I think as, like, people living in houses all around are pretty much saying the same thing. It's just been a really, really good use of a field that was, you know, not really used very much. So yeah, that's me. And hopefully come and see it afterwards.
Okay, thanks very much.